There's a quiet war that takes place in almost every relationship. Not the one you shout about, but the one that lives in the silence after an argument, in the tension when you stop reaching for each other, when pride whispers, "Don't call first, don't say sorry." That war has one name: ego. Ego convinces us that love is a competition, that vulnerability is weakness, and that being right is more important than being connected. But the truth is, most relationships don't die from a lack of love. They die from the hunger to win. So let's talk about how ego quietly destroys intimacy, and how we can reclaim love that breathes, grows, and heals. When our ego feels threatened, something inside us shuts down. We stop listening. And we start defending. We're no longer curious. We're preparing our next argument. Instead of hearing, "You hurt me," we hear, "You're blaming me." And in that moment, the conversation shifts from connection to combat. Imagine your partner says, "You don't spend enough time with me." Ego jumps in and says, "Do you have any idea how hard I work? You're ungrateful." But empathy would take a breath and whisper, "You feel lonely. Tell me more." See the difference? Ego wants to win the moment. Empathy wants to understand the person. When you defend, you build walls. When you listen, you build bridges. Defensiveness kills curiosity. And without curiosity, love cannot grow. Because love doesn't live in being right. Love lives in the space where both truths can exist side by side. Healthy relationships aren't about who wins the argument, they're about who's willing to understand, even when it's uncomfortable. Ego thrives on control. It feeds on the illusion of being one step ahead, one level higher, one victory closer. In relationships, this need for superiority quietly transforms love into a competition. Suddenly, it's not about connection anymore. It's about keeping score. Who said sorry first? Who puts in more effort? Who loves harder? When ego enters the room, tenderness leaves. Every disagreement becomes a silent battle to prove who cares less, because the one who cares less feels safer. But in truth, no one wins in that game. Love is not a business transaction. It's not an accounting of sacrifices or apologies. It's not, "I did this, so you should do that." It's a dance of giving without keeping track of steps. There's a beautiful story of a couple married for 30 years. When asked about the secret to their lasting bond, the wife smiled and said, "We stopped trying to win against each other and started winning for each other." That simple shift changed everything. They realized that the relationship is not me versus you. It's us versus the problem. When love becomes about control, we lose trust. But when it becomes about cooperation, we gain freedom. Research even shows that couples who prioritize teamwork over control experience higher relationship satisfaction and emotional security. Because partnership is not about dominance, it's about devotion. The truth is, love is not measured by who leads or who yields. It's measured by how gently you hold each other's hearts when things get hard. The moment you turn love into a power game, intimacy dies. But when you let go of control and choose connection instead, that's when love begins to win. We all crave to be seen, understood, and accepted for who we are, yet so few of us are truly willing to show who we are. Why? Because ego whispers in our ear, "Don't let them see your weakness. They might not love you anymore." And so we build walls instead of bridges. We hide behind sarcasm. We mask pain with anger. We cover fear with silence. We become performers in our own relationships, always strong, always composed, but deeply lonely inside. Ego convinces us that vulnerability will make us lose power, but the opposite is true. Vulnerability is not a loss of strength. It's the truest form of courage. It's standing emotionally naked and saying, "This is me, flawed, scared, human, but real." When someone says, "I'm scared you don't love me anymore," they're not being weak. They're inviting intimacy. They're saying, "I trust you enough to show you my fear." And that trust is the foundation of love. In countless therapy sessions, I've seen couples who've spent years shouting, blaming, or withdrawing suddenly reconnect. Not because they found the perfect argument, but because one of them finally said, "I miss you." That single moment of honesty melted months of tension. Psychologists like Dr. Brené Brown have shown that vulnerability is the birthplace of love, creativity, and belonging. Without it, relationships become performance. With it, they become partnership. The truth is, love doesn't need your perfection, it needs your presence. Vulnerability is not a sign you're breaking, it's proof that you're brave enough to love deeply. And when two people dare to show their true selves, love doesn't just survive, it transforms. Ego hates two simple words: I'm sorry. Because to the ego, apology feels like surrender. It feels like admitting defeat. Forgiveness, too, feels like giving away power. But in truth, both are acts of extraordinary strength. Apology requires humility, the willingness to step down from your pride and step up for the relationship. Forgiveness requires courage, the courage to choose healing over hurt and peace over resentment. Ego would rather stay right than stay connected. It whispers, "Why should I apologize first? They were wrong too." And so, two people stand on opposite sides of the same pain, waiting for the other to build the bridge. But no bridge appears, only silence, distance, and a love that slowly withers away. Think of apology as that bridge, a way to reconnect two islands after the storm. Without it, both partners stay stranded, angry, alone, misunderstood. There's a story of a couple who hadn't spoken for weeks after an argument. Each waited for the other to say sorry. One day, the husband finally broke the silence and whispered, "I miss you more than I need to be right." That single act of humility melted all the walls between them. Research from the University of Michigan shows that couples who practice mutual apology and forgiveness experience higher relationship satisfaction and lower stress levels. It's not surprising, because when you let go of ego, you make room for empathy. Apology doesn't make you smaller, it makes love bigger. It says, our connection matters more than my pride. And forgiveness, it doesn't erase the past. It simply frees your heart to build a future. Because love doesn't thrive on who wins the fight. It thrives on who chooses peace first. Ego loves the illusion of perfection. It tells us that love should always feel exciting, effortless, passionate, flawless. It paints a picture where couples never fight, never doubt, and never struggle. But the truth is, that version of love only exists in movies, not in real life. In real relationships, there are misunderstandings, dull moments, and countless imperfections. There are days when love feels less like a fairy tale and more like hard work, but ego can't handle that. It whispers, if it's this difficult, maybe it's not meant to be. And that's where so many people walk away, not because love is gone, but because the illusion of perfection has faded. But real love isn't perfect. It's persistent. It's two people choosing each other, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's messy. Relationships aren't like glass, fragile and flawless. They're like gardens, alive, unpredictable, and constantly in need of care. You can't just plant love once and expect it to grow forever. You have to water it, nurture it, and sometimes replant what's been damaged. Research from psychologist Dr. John Gottman found that happy couples aren't the ones who never argue. They're the ones who know how to repair after conflict, because it's not the absence of problems that defines love, but the presence of effort. True intimacy doesn't come from being perfect partners. It comes from being present partners. It's looking at someone in their most human moments and saying, I see you, tired, flawed, imperfect, and I still choose you. Love doesn't need to look perfect to be real. It just needs to be honest, forgiving, and alive, because connection, not perfection, is what keeps love growing. At its worst, ego isolates us. It turns love, something meant to unite, into a constant competition. Suddenly, it becomes me versus you. Who gives more? Who sacrifices more? Who's right and who's wrong? It's no longer about connection, it's about keeping score. Ego wants to win, but love doesn't care who wins. Love cares who stays. Because the moment you start competing with your partner, you both lose. Love isn't a battlefield, it's a team sport. And the strongest couples aren't the ones who never fight, they're the ones who fight together. Think of it this way. When something goes wrong in your relationship, it's not you against each other. It's you both against the problem. That small mental shift changes everything. It turns tension into teamwork and criticism into collaboration. Research from the Gottman Institute found that couples who use we language, phrases like we'll figure this out instead of you always do this, report stronger emotional bonds and lower divorce rates. That's because we builds bridges, while you builds walls. There's a powerful story of two marathon runners, a husband and wife, who ran holding hands through the finish line. They didn't care who crossed first, they cared that they finished together. That's what love is meant to look like. Partnership means realizing you're on the same side, even in disagreement. It's not about proving your point, it's about protecting your bond. In healthy relationships, ego takes a back seat and partnership takes the wheel. Because love isn't a test you pass or fail, it's a journey you walk together. And when you start fighting for each other instead of against each other, love stops breaking and starts building. Ego may make you feel powerful in the moment, but it will leave you lonely in the long run. So the next time you feel the urge to defend, to prove, to win, pause. Ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to be connected? Because love doesn't need you to win. It needs you to show up with humility, honesty, and heart. And when you let go of ego, you don't lose yourself. You find a version of you capable of ดีชีวิต